All right. Welcome, everyone. I hope everyone is having a great day. Welcome to the Father-Friendly Checkup webinar, and we are so glad to have you here today. We'll dive into how organizations can better engage and support fathers in their vital role within families, and in a sense, to help you become more father-friendly. Today, we have two incredible fatherhood leaders from National Fatherhood Initiative guiding us through today's webinar. First, we have Erik Vecere, NFI's Chief Partner Success Officer, and Antoine Johnson, our Program Success Director, and they will introduce themselves in detail shortly. As for webinar support, we have Melissa Byers, NFI's Chief Marketing Officer, and yours truly, Justin C. I am the Marketing and Training Coordinator to help you with any concerns or questions during the webinar. I know we're excited, but before we get started, here are a few housekeeping notes. Please use the chat box to share your thoughts and use it to ask your questions throughout the sessions. And we encourage you to engage and interact. This is a perfect opportunity for you to connect with other attendees, so you can use this moment to expand your own network. At the end of the webinar, a short post survey will appear. Your feedback is essential in helping us improve future sessions like this. With that, put on your goggles because we are diving right in. Please join me in welcoming our first speaker, Erik Vecere. Erik, you may take it away.
All right. Well, good afternoon to everybody. It's exciting to be with you here today. As Justin mentioned, I am Chief Partner Success Officer here at National Fatherhood Initiative. I've been fortunate to be with NFI for a little over 23 years now, and I've been really excited to see just the progress over the couple of decades of human service organizations and leaders around the country really being more intentional and proactive when it comes to father inclusivity and looking for ways to increase father friendliness in their organizations. And so I'm really excited to be with you here today, along with Antoine and the rest of our team, to guide you through this somewhat brief webinar. We only have about an hour together today, so we will be covering a lot. I'm also on my own fatherhood journey. I have two grown daughters. My oldest is out in Phoenix, and she is 30, and my youngest is 25. And I also just became a grandfather too a few years back. So I'm in that season as well. And as you all know, for those of us who are parents, that you are never done being a parent, right? So I'm going to turn it over to Antoine, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
Hey, good afternoon. Glad to be here with you guys. Appreciate you guys showing some love and the emojis and everything already. Again, my name is Antoine Johnson. I am the Program Success Director with National Fatherhood Initiative, and I get the privilege and honor to be able to share space with folks like you from across the country. I see Florida, and Utah, and Tennessee, all these folks coming in, and so we so appreciate you guys for being on today. Unlike Erik, I am on the opposite end of that spectrum. I have two young kids, all under 5, 4, and under, and we have one on the way. So I always say I have 2.5. So just glad to be here with you guys. And if you hear any screaming in the background, everything is okay. All right. So looking forward to the conversation.
You've got a father-friendly environment there, Antoine, no doubt. All right, so let's go ahead and just dive in. I want to just give you all a quick snapshot of National Fatherhood Initiative, just to give you a little context for our organization. We are a nonprofit established in 1994. We're nonpartisan and non-sectarian. We are the leading provider of research on the benefits of father involvement. Our mission is to increase father involvement by equipping communities and human service organizations with the training, programs, and resources they need to be father inclusive. And that's a term that we really embrace here at NFI, is this idea of being father inclusive and helping organizations to be more parentally balanced by just kind of balancing out the percentage of moms and dads both participating in programs and services that are geared towards parents. Now, our vision is, of course, more broad and very child-centered because it is that all communities and human service organizations are proactively father inclusive so that every child has an involved, responsible, committed father in their lives. So, it really is about the well-being of children. We happen to approach it from the perspective of helping men be the best dads they can be, but we still have a very holistic lens that we look through when it comes to family enrichment, that children need both involved moms and dads in the lives, as well as other extended caregivers. So this is how we do it. Because we do not provide direct services to fathers, we rely on our partnerships with communities and organizations around the country who are at the nexus of fathers and families to help us achieve our mission and vision. And so that involves partnerships at the national, state, and local levels, as well as with direct service providers and communities. And you can see we've included some of those larger network partners there on the screen. And what we do is we provide ready-made and customized solutions to those partners around the country, including programs and resources, training, collaborative services, and then technical assistance as needed. And then this is where we intersect with you all, because again, since we don't provide direct services, we do rely on partnerships with folks such as yourselves around the country. And, we want to come alongside you and just support your efforts to include more fathers in the programs and services that you provide in any way that would be helpful to you. And with the ultimate goal of having healthier children, families, and communities. So here are some of the benefits of your participation in today's webinar. The first would be to learn to create a father-friendly organization from a holistic perspective. And as part of that, we are really going to be focusing on our father-friendly checkup assessment tool. And we'll provide you with all the information you need towards the end of the webinar today on how you can access that free assessment that can inform your father-friendly action plan and identify some next steps that would involve low and even no cost solutions to increase your father friendliness. And so as part of that, you will be able to identify the 4 areas of the assessment focus, as well as create an organizational culture that can support exceptional fatherhood programs and services. Another benefit will be to walk away with the foundation for a strategic plan to increase father friendliness. And that will involve, again, providing you all of the information on the tool, the assessment, how to access that tool, what to do when you get your results back, because it is all online, and it does enable you to get your results automatically upon completion of your father-friendly assessment. There will also be all the information not only needed for you to complete the father-friendly checkup, but also to encourage your colleagues and coworkers to complete the assessment for themselves as well. If you can get a good cross-section of coworkers within your organizations to complete it, you all can then compare and contrast your results and work together collectively to create a father-friendly action plan. Sometimes you'll see that one of your coworkers may have answered a statement much lower than you, or vice versa, and you can begin to unpack that a little bit. In other words, what are you seeing that I'm not seeing, right? And then finally, to learn a little more about NFI and how we can help you develop and sustain exceptional fatherhood programs and services. So this is the key message, that fathers are irreplaceable and an essential ingredient for child well-being. And again, this is something that we do have a holistic approach here. We understand that it is equally important for moms and dads to be involved in their child's development. And we put this out there because unfortunately, there are a lot of dads out there that believe that they're nice, but maybe not necessary in the lives of their children. So we want dads to understand that they do, just like moms, provide a unique and irreplaceable role in the life of their children. So a little bit about this father-friendly checkup assessment. We did develop the first version way back in 2000. So we just released this current seventh version, which is the first version that is basically automated for you to access on a platform instead of having to download a PDF and print it out and do everything manually. This seventh version is not only enhanced, but it is also something that you will be able to take online. So it automates everything so that you don't have to do all the heavy lifting to get your results. You're going to get those automatically. But it is the culmination of 25 years of use and feedback used by thousands of diverse organizations. And so we've learned a lot over the years as we've received feedback from these organizations, and even from a 5-year federally funded project that we did called the National Responsible Fatherhood Capacity Building Initiative. That was a 5-year project. We worked with 119 organizations, and they provided some great feedback on this assessment's value and usefulness. So you all get to benefit from all of those years of improvement. So what are the 4 assessment categories? Well, the first one is leadership development. This particular assessment category focuses on influencing the attitudes, beliefs, and values held by the organization's employees at all levels on the importance of serving fathers. So essentially, it's the culture of your organization. Organizational development, which is the second assessment category, involves how the nuts and bolts of your organization ensures that it carries out its mission through better organizational capacity. And it really is something that can be boiled down to these 3 areas. The first one would be policies, procedures, and processes. Then staff development and training, and finally, physical environment. Now, these 2 assessment categories, I like to say, are the Velcro that the other categories stick to. So these 2 are really foundational for everything else that is going to follow. So the final 2 categories, program development and community engagement, really, tend to be the ones that a lot of folks can wrap their minds around a little bit easier, especially program development. This is the foundation of an effective program as it relates to staff and resources and strategies to recruit and retain fathers. What type of intervention are you using? What type of curriculum are you using? Those are all things that would fall under program development. And then finally, community engagement. There is an outward-facing element or an external element to father friendliness in being a fatherhood champion for your community. So it is essentially the ability to engage the community, increase awareness of the importance of fathers and of resources available to help fathers become more involved, responsible, and committed. So from this point on, Antoine and I are going to alternate these 4 assessment categories, just give you a little bit more information related to that assessment category, some examples of these categories, and then a brief video that we think really highlight and bring into focus a partner that has done a great job in particular with that assessment category. So when we start with leadership development, again, these are the attitudes, beliefs, and values held by leaders of the organization and influences how the organization approaches what it does for and with clients. Some examples would be, leaders encouraging the healthy development of the father-child relationship, or displaying a positive attitude about fathers and men when interacting with clients. So when we think about leadership development, some of the elements would be being flexible, really, in creating, promoting, delivering, and evaluating client-directed efforts. Another one would be looking at your mission or vision. Does it actually include serving dads? I can't tell you how many of our partners have taken this and have given us feedback that they hadn't really even thought to look at their mission or vision. But when they did, they found that they had mom and child in their mission or vision, but nothing more specific for dads, or even more broadly for the family in some of their mission and vision statements. So that is the core for which everything else flows, and everybody can come back to say, okay, this is our reason for existence, right? Mothers and fathers critical to child well-being. Do leaders embrace this paradigm? Do they encourage the healthy development of father-child and father-mother relationships? Are leaders willing to seek funds to implement father involvement activities? So, in other words, creating, sustaining fatherhood programs and services do require sometimes having more father-specific types of funding and resources to enable the organization to really do what is necessary to be intentional and proactive when it comes to engaging and including fathers in their programs and services. I like to use the term kind of moving folks from inspiration to implementation, right? And so some of that is also reflected in the way that resources are allocated and sought after within your organization. So that brings us really to this first video from one of our partners that I believe shows and illustrates a really good example of what it looks like when leaders within an organization really buy in and are passionate about the vision to include fathers in their programs and services. And so as you watch this, I would just encourage you to take a look at the diversity of the types of organizational leaders that are articulating the programs and services that they provide, and the importance of what they're doing in order to include fathers in their programs and services.
Our mission is really to empower fathers, men, and families to achieve self-sufficiency. So whatever it takes to help them get on their feet, to get jobs, to become gainfully employed so that they can support their children.
A lot of the fathers that actually come into our program really have no structure. A lot of them don't have their high school diploma, so we help them get their GED, as well as just teach them the basics.
These men have a lot of barriers. Okay, so the services we provide here try to eliminate some of those barriers.
It was kind of hectic, with the child support requirements and the money requirements and the lack of job that was available at the time.
Stressful, depressed, didn't have my kids at the time. So it was pretty much going downhill.
Total chaos.
When I was incarcerated, came home, a friend of mine was telling me about the program he was working. He was already established, and I knew the guy. We grew up together, so if he could change, if somebody got his attention, I said I'd give it a shot.
And so Operation Fatherhood really set me up with a lot of those avenues.
So my whole life has been an emotional and physical roller coaster, up until now.
I think the main benefit that they gain when they come here is the fact that they come into an environment that is father-friendly. They come into an environment where they see staff that look like them. They see pictures on the walls that reflect fathers and children. We're really friendly and open and welcoming to men, unlike some services that really are more geared toward women and children.
They benefit because it helps them get back on their feet, if it's resume writing or getting a job, getting them back into the family, and basically a lot of times back to the head of the family, being able to take care of the child and their family financially.
We also have a program, Dress to Impress, where we offer the men various suits. We've had some of our men actually use the suits for getting married, going on job interviews.
And job readiness programs, I just completed that, got my certificate, got an interview tomorrow. And parenting classes, helped me improve the relationship with my boys.
The societal cost of absent fathers is huge. When kids don't have fathers, they look for other role models, and they're not always the best role models.
When fathers are in the home, children have role models. They have, someone that they can trust and lean on and provide support to. So I think, when fathers are actively involved in their children's lives, it makes all the difference.
Watching her grow, watching myself grow, watching us grow together. Every day it's a learning process. I continue to learn about myself as well as I learn about her.
My favorite thing about being a father is seeing them every day, just watching them play and seeing how happy they are.
Fatherhood taught me it's just the time, just the attendance, just to show up,
And it has this feeling that you cannot describe unless you're actually there as a father or help raise someone else's child, or be a mentor to somebody else's child.
Because, me growing up, I just know if I would have had that positive role model in my life, things would have turned out way different.
I tried to help her out with the homework over the phone. It's really hard because, that's my baby, and the distance apart what got me, because, I always want to be that father. Ooh, that father figure. And, in her life, because I was raised up with both of my parents, and it's hard. But right now, today, I'm getting stronger with it.
They're sometimes labeled as deadbeats, trifling, not wanting to work, and what I found is that it's just the opposite.
These men are thankful for the services of UIH, to give it the bottom line because it gives them hope. I don't think any of us can move forward in life, I'm going to get maudlin, without hope. And these are men who haven't achieved any milestones in life. So many have not graduated from high school. So many have never cheered about getting their driver's license. Instead, they've encountered barrier after barrier after barrier. I tip my hat daily to these men because somehow they're able to overcome these barriers with our help and climb the mountains that they need to climb. And bottom line, I think it's because we give them the hope that they need.
So again, as we wrap up the leadership development assessment category, I think you can get a sense for the heart and passion that these leaders have connected with the organization, right? We heard from the executive director, the assistant executive director, director of programs, client service specialists. So really from executive to management to frontline, and even from a few of the board of directors, right? The treasurer, president, secretary, all sharing a deeper level of really commitment and passion for this. And they really all seem to be on the same page with regard to why it's so important to do things to draw dads out of the shadows and get them engaged in these programs and services. So again, just I wanted to just provide you with a visual representation of leadership development in action whenever it is done, with an eye towards father inclusion. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Antoine. He's going to talk a little bit about the second assessment category, organizational development.
All right, appreciate that, Eric. That's one of those videos that no matter how many times you watch it, it's always heartfelt, right? I appreciate you guys showing some support in the chat box and with your emojis. But we're going to get into talking about organizational development, right? The nuts and bolts that reflect an organization's cultures. And when you think about your organization and everything that makes it what it is, that's what we're going to talk about, particularly things that are related to policies, procedures, and processes, things like staff development and training, right? And what your physical environment looks like, right? Like all these things matter when we start thinking about things related to father friendliness. And so examples of policies and procedures encourage fathers to balance work life and family life, right? Like, is your organization concerned about that? Do they prioritize those things, right? Another example is staff trained in gender communication, right? Understanding that sometimes the way in which dads or moms will communicate, or men and women, are just different, right? And so having things that acknowledge that, and then finally, with their facilities, does it include a diaper deck in the men's bathroom, right? Every now and then I'll see that in like a Target or something, and I'm always kind of like blown away, like, oh man, they get it, right? And so now, as we move into talking about policies, procedures, and processes, we begin to look at things like gender neutral forms, right? Like, so does your form is it inclusive of all genders, right? Not that it, does it say other things other than just mom, right, or mother, and so forth, right? Address, right? Address mailings to the fathers as well as the moms, right? We often, like, especially on the community side, will highlight those things when we start looking at schools and institutions like that, who may not be as inclusive, right? Not that all of them are, but also, does your organization encourage fathers to shape existing and new programs, right? That means things like funding and other things like that. But does it encourage those kind of things? And then finally, does your organization refer fathers to community programs to meet their other needs, right? Like in the video we just saw, dads talked about their need for employment and other related things. Staff development and training. This is huge, right? Like, because the staff is like the heartbeat of any organization, no matter what kind of work you're doing, but especially as we think about and talk about things related to fatherhood and father-friendly organizations and so forth. All right. So does your organization evaluate their staff's ability to work effectively with fathers, right? I remember working with an organization in the Bronx, and we were able to assess and look at how their particular team are related to dads in their communities. Does your organization seek input from fathers on their decisions, right, that affect children? The third one is trained on the importance of fathers, right? Does your organization help to develop their staff on understanding uh, understanding how important fathers are, and that's one of the things that we really try to impress on here at NFI. Number four, does your organization have trained staff on the differences between fathers and mothers? Right, we're going back to communication and parenting styles. Oftentimes there are differences, right? Not that one is better than the other, but there are differences, things that really bring out the best in the family unit. And then finally, is the staff in your organization trained on how to balance their own work-life balance, right? Because that'll have a lot to do with things like burnout and so forth, right? Physical environment. As we begin to talk about physical environment, I remember going to a program out in New Jersey, which was really father friendly. They had a lot of different things for dads to look at in their waiting room, which is really cool. But when we began to think about things like the facility, right? Like, does it include things like reading material, videos, things that are inclusive of dads? And the entire family, images that say men are welcome here, right? Like, even if it isn't that explicit, is there some semblance of signs or images that allow men to understand that they're welcome, right, within your organization? And this includes things like displays of pictures of female and male staff, right? Posters of dads with their children. I think like we saw in the last video, but just all those kind of things, right? Is your space um, encouraging? Does it encourage father-child play and interaction? I know one organization that was a part of, they actually had a whole room dedicated to families being able to go and interact with their children. And so when we think about physical environments, those are the things that we're looking at. And here is a video that we're going to play from our partners in Texas, and they actually have a WIC program. They're doing a lot of good things, particularly things that are reflective of organizational development and being father inclusive.
Hi, my name is Takora Smith, and I serve as the WIC Director for the Northeast Texas Public Health District here in Tyler, Texas. A little bit about our program. WIC stands for Women, Infants, and Children, and we provide services to pregnant, breastfeeding, postpartum, infants, and children up to the age of 5. Here at WIC, our main goal is to help make amazing kids by offering nutrition education, breastfeeding support, and referrals to community resources in our local community. One way we started looking at fathers and including them in our WIC services was changing the culture of our WIC program by greeting our fathers when they entered, providing pictures of dads on the walls that show pictures of dads playing with their children, practicing skin to skin, and at mealtime. We also invited dad from the waiting room back to the lab to watch us weigh and measure their infants or children. And also during our nutrition counseling sessions, we would look to dad to answer questions, and we gave him a role. We gave him the role of the keeper of information. He helped mom with remembering the different topics covered in their counseling session, whether it was a counseling session with a nutritionist or a registered dietitian. We also changed how we approached our dads in being more hospitable. Instead of sitting in the parking lot or waiting in the lobby, we actually addressed dad and said hello. One other thing, we started looking at our approach as far as involving him in the actual WIC services. We developed 2 nutrition education courses. One, the infant feeding class, where dad, if he attended with mom, he could earn a charm for a charm bracelet that helped mom stay encouraged and know WIC was supporting her. In those classes, we talked about benefits of breastfeeding, how dad can support mom in her choices to breastfeed, what it actually meant for dad's role as part of the success of breastfeeding. There are some hands-on activities at the end that really gets our dads going, and they just really get into it. So those are the classes that we chose for our mom so that dad could come and support her. Also, we decided to develop the Dad Camp class. In Dad Camp, dad learns the benefits of breastfeeding, how to do skin to skin, how to bathe the baby, how to change a diaper, safe sleeping. He also learns about baby behavior because it can be stressful when you really don't know why the infant is crying. And then we talk about men's mental health. Things are going to change. It's going to get a little stressful when he's shopping for the groceries, getting up at night for feeding, and helping support mom by getting her and that infant to, or their infant to their appointments. One other thing we chose to do is build what we call our Daddy Caddy. It's a toolbox where we provide bibs and essential items that dad and mom will need to get ready for their newborn. If I had any suggestions, it would be to increase your knowledge, attend conferences, summits. For example, the Fatherhood Summit. I didn't know much about fatherhood until I attended the Texas WIC Nutrition Education and Breastfeeding Conference. In that conference, there was a father that shared information about his journey as a father and some things he was doing in his agency to increase father services. Also, within that first year, we were able to hire a peer dad to help us with educating our fathers about breastfeeding, how to help mom during pregnancy and their role as a father. He would visit the hospitals to teach dads how to hold the baby and to prepare him for when baby goes home. Also, he would go to the schools and meet with our teen mom and dads to help them learn how to have a healthy relationship, especially during pregnancy and when the baby arrives. We travel as far as Fort Worth, Texas to learn information, Austin, wherever that information can be acquired. We come back and we share it with our staff, we share it with our leadership. It's important to have that buy-in because the culture, like I said, will change. Also being patient. You're going to try some things. They may not go as you desire, but keep at it. I never stopped coming to the Fatherhood Summit. I only missed one summit, but it was when I learned how to evaluate the fatherhood program. I also learned how to recruit and market to our dads in the Fatherhood Summit. that it decreased child abuse when father is involved. Also, that it helped with the overall impacting the family in addressing poverty. And I also learned that if our desire is to impact family lives and help our families and support them, it starts with including dads.
So some great stuff in there. Again, we're kind of focusing here more on the organizational development side of the assessment category, but I think you're also picking up that even though, we've compartmentalized these four assessment categories, there is a lot of overlap between, and there's an interrelatedness between these four assessment categories. And so while she did touch on a lot of things that fell under organizational development, there were some that touched on some of these other assessment categories as well. And so that's one thing that as you take the assessment and begin to think about maybe some next steps or an action plan that will come out of it, that that we don't lose that idea of interrelatedness between the four assessment categories. So let's look at program development. This is the third assessment category. And some of the things to consider here is, of course, to integrate fathers into as many programs and services as possible. This really is, when I talk about the father-friendly checkup and what you do with it afterwards, it really is about weaving fatherhood into the fabric of your organization and your organization's culture. And the benefit to that is that it will really become baked into the DNA of everything that you do. And so every intersection with family members that you work with will always have kind of this eye towards, okay, well, how do we include the dad if he's not already involved, right? How do we talk to mom about the important role that dad plays in the life of their children and the importance of co-parenting in the best interest of their children? How do we pull dads out of the shadows, right? Maybe we begin to think about our general operating budget and including line items in there that will be able to support maybe some more father-specific tools or resources in order to help dads feel that program or service is really for them as well. Offering programs and services at convenient times. Sometimes, that can be a challenge, depending on when those dads are available. But now with, folks getting more comfortable with, like online or virtual delivery of programs and services, sometimes that can provide a way to break down some of those barriers for convenient times. We have some of our partners that allow their staff to pick up some flex time. So if they work in an evening or on a weekend, they can then get some time off during the week or at other times. Programs designed for men and fathers. As Antoine mentioned before, understanding some of the learning and parenting styles on average that men and fathers tend to gravitate towards, or at least can create a bridge to having a conversation about other things. And programs have and encourage emotional intimacy among men. And, this is something that I hear a lot, and I've experienced even when I've delivered and facilitated fatherhood programs, is if you create a safe space for these dads to open up, they will open up and they will get in touch with emotions and feelings, and they will unpack things that they have not processed or maybe shared with others before. And it really is about creating that safe environment, that safe zone for the men to be able to do that. If you can, of course, hire male staff when possible. One of our partners up in Binghamton, New York, had shared in their Healthy Families program. So they do home visits, and they were 100% female staffed. And their director went to a conference and was motivated to try to become more father friendly. And one of the ways that she wanted to do that was to begin hiring some male staff. So she put out, the job description and, advertised it and did not get one man to apply. And instead of just giving up, because she had put the job role was for a parent education specialist, she went back and talked to some of her team, and they came up with the idea of what about changing the title of the position? And so they changed it from parent education specialist to fatherhood advocate. And lo and behold, they did get a few men who applied. She hired her first male fatherhood advocate, and then from there was able to begin changing the culture to be more father friendly, and eventually hired other fatherhood advocates. So that's an example of just being persistent. Looking at programs or curriculum that address critical issues that would be attractive to men and fathers, things like family history, helping them deal with grief and loss, which is something that a lot of men have not done. And in fact, a lot of dads haven't even grieved the loss of their own father, maybe never having that relationship with their own father. Relationships, things around co-parenting, communication, and child development is another big area that dads really appreciate understanding more about the ages and stages of their child's development. And then, of course, taking those opportunities to celebrate and recognize fathers' short and learn long-term accomplishments, be it things that are connected with your programs or services. Maybe they've graduated from a program, but it also can be things that are a little longer term. If there are some other case management or wraparound services, or things that they're trying to do, maybe to get more connected with their child. Maybe they haven't had a lot of access and visitation opportunities, but they're moving towards those things. So this is another partner of ours that has been running our 24/7 dad program. And I think this gives a really good example of a program development elements in there where you have certain components that make up your larger intervention.
I first heard about the EOC and the LCC and the youth build when I was locked up in juvenile hall about 1.5 years ago. I started going to school here, and then I started working, and while I was working in the orientation, they were talking about the POPS program, and when I got hired, they put me into the POPS program. My son, he's about to be 2 in August 3rd. Looks just like me. The work experience helped me organize my priorities more. Instead of just in order for me to help my son, it's not for me just to spend time with him all day. It's to go out there and do something that can help better his life. So that's what they kind of put in front of my face, and it was like, well, here, this is how, if you want to help better yourself with your relationship with you and your son, then this is what you got to do. And I've just kind of been sticking to it.
I was first hired to work in recycling on base, sorting through all the cans, bottles, and it was great. I loved it there. Worked a night shift from 12 to 8. That worked perfectly for me. My plan is to get into Fresno City College. I will be majoring in criminal justice, and I will be applying for the police academy after I do an associate's degree.
I first heard about the POPS program through my next door neighbor, who is actually works at the youth center, and she ended up giving my mother a flyer, and my mother thought it would be a great idea for me to go and see how to better myself as a dad. The one thing that I personally gained from the program was how selfish somebody could be without really noticing, and with being selfish, you don't do as much things for certain people as your children or your wife as you think you do. and you're kind of blind to the fact. And the program actually helped me out be more aware of what I was doing, not really wrong, but what I could, more or less just improve.
In the 24/7 Dad class that I facilitate, we talk about things like disciplining children, working with mom, co-parenting, communication. Well, as a case manager for the POPS program, we also work with the fathers in getting employed. If they're not employed, we refer them to services such as Workforce Connection, LCC, Employment and Training. We can help with anything from interview clothing to building your resume, helping you with interview skills, things of that nature. This is a place for dads. Our focus is dads, so it's a great place for you to come and meet new dads, also to get that support that is needed.
I love that she kind of ends with this is a place for dads, right? But you can also get a sense for, the program itself is really made up of a lot of different wraparound services. While they use our 24/7 dad program in the small groups with the dads, it is really a part of a larger intervention around workforce readiness. So, and I'm sure many of you are in settings like that as well, where you have a lot of different interventions and things that make up the opportunity to kind of customize intervention combinations of different services and support in ways that are going to meet the wants and needs of the families that you serve. And so Antoine is going to take us through the fourth and final assessment category, and then I will give you more information on the father-friendly checkup itself, how you can access it, and use that to inform your action plan. So Antoine.
Appreciate that, Eric. Glad to be back with you guys. And so we're going to talk a little bit about community engagement, and I'm going to get through this really quick but succinct because I know we are running tight on time. And so the first thing is to market not only to dads but to other audiences that influence their behaviors, right? Like I can't tell you how many times we've been facilitating groups or organizing them, how many times dads will say, "Oh, well, my wife told me to be here, right? Like she told me to be here." Right. So dads are like, they have no excuse. All right, market to other organizations to create referral or sources. So I know many of the United Ways across the country, right? They can be really helpful resources or community action organizations. Market and locations where fathers are, right? Like barbershops or maybe schools or different things like that. So they don't have to search for information. You want to make it easy for them, low hanging fruit, right? Little friction as possible to get an information across. And then finally, use marketing materials that are developed with the input from fathers, right? Like test them, try them out. What Eric says, throw the spaghetti at the wall. I like that one. So, just see what works for your organization. The next thing is use positive, concise, and direct language. Dads are simple. Men are simple. We like things straightforward, not a whole lot of fluff. So be really succinct and direct in your communication, right? Avoid using too much jargon or too many words, right? The second thing is don't confuse messages. Hooks that will encourage fathers to enroll and engage your organizations with what will help them become a better father. So yeah, don't use a lot of confusing information. A lot of times when we say use hooks, we're talking about things like workforce development initiatives or other things of that nature, like you saw in the last video. Third, research shows that fathers are motivated to enroll when they can get help with their basic needs, right? Like I just touched on employment, driver's license, child support arrangement, like just these different things that can help them to be more confident as men and fathers, right? And then the last thing is to don't expect messages about being a father, being a better dad to increase enrollment, right? Being a better dad is a job of the program, not the marketing effort. And so we just want to emphasize that point. Next one, issue press releases on the launch of the success of your program, right? So if you're able to do that, and many of those of you who use our 24/7 data programs of NFI, we have those templates inside that you guys can modify and use for your use in your communities. Second, develop relationships with media personalities to generate free press, right? So anytime you're doing events in your communities, whether you have a launch of a new program, a graduation, or summits, or whatever it is, invite the press, right? Like when they have time, they love coming out to get good, encouraging information about what folks are doing in your communities. Third, join a forum, a fatherhood task force, a coalition comprised of leaders across different sectors, right? And if you don't have one, maybe you and your team may want to consider creating one, right? If it's not there, build it. Sometimes, right? Like that's the case. And then the last point here is to hold a fatherhood summit or town hall and invite leaders from across different sectors and discuss how you can mobilize your community around fatherhood. I know it's easier said than done, but if you see a gap, a need in your communities, it might be exactly what needs to be done or happen next. And speaking of mobilizing your communities, we have a great resource for you. So share the successes with other organizations, right? Like so that you can highlight the work that you're doing, right? The authority that you have in your communities around fatherhood. And you can use our free resource here. We have for community engagement, right? So if you go on that link, if you click that link, you can't do it right now, but you'll get access to it because Justin is our superhero and he put it right in the chat box for you. But it will give you some really succinct things that you can do in order to mobilize your communities around fatherhood. And then last but not least here around community engagement, we have a short video for you. And we at NFI have helped many folks across the country, but here particularly, we're going to talk about the Ohio Commission on Fatherhood. Through our work with them, our partnership, we've helped over, or at least 12 counties in the state of Ohio, and have worked with their leaders, and they've raised up lead agencies and collaborative partners. So we'll show the video so you all can get some insight from them.
We believe we can raise the level of father involvement, creating opportunities to train fathers so they can be engaged in employment.
One of the biggest things is really community mapping and being able to get some insight in terms of how our county is laid out, what the initiatives that already exist in our county so that we're not reinventing the wheel, and actually be able to map out where the different agencies are, our community partners, and who our key stakeholders are in our county to be able to launch this initiative.
We've allowed fathers to take a back seat, and I think what this will do will heighten the awareness of the tremendous value that a father plays in a child's life. And because of that, our communities are better, our country's better.
On a bigger level, it's been able to connect me as a stakeholder with Children's Services and with our county leadership, and to know that this is an initiative that is important on both the local, state, and federal level, and what a concern it is, and it's a problem I think that we all own, but the solution we can all own as well.
When you help a dad, I mean, you're really helping out the whole family. It's not just a mom versus dads type of thing. So, you know, if you help the dad, you know, get his act together, then you know, he could be a better father, and then also be a little bit more cooperative with the mother. So it helps everybody.
I would recommend this training to others. It's unfortunate that everybody can't be a part of this, so I'm very fortunate to be a part of today's session here. I think it's important to know how to mobilize one another in your community, and then at a state level too.
I think it would be a good program for business leaders. I think it would be a good program for civic leaders and government officials. I think it would be an excellent program for service providers and a cross spectrum of people who are working with families.
So when you increase the father friendliness of your organization, you are also increasing the father friendliness of your community, but it also goes the other way, right? That, as we work together externally with other partners and collaborations in our backyards, that we also then create an environment that just makes everything rise up around father friendliness within the community and organizations. So let's wrap up here on how to take the father friendly checkup. It's pretty easy. You can just go directly to fatherhood.org/father friendly. You'll just scroll down and click on the Father Friendly Checkup. You'll fill out a short form letting us know a little bit about you. And then there is an overview and a very brief video, just kind of prepping you for the assessment experience that you're going to have. There's also a button on there to download your strategic plan template. And then you simply click on Take the Father Friendly Checkup. It will take you right there. There will be a series of statements on a Likert scale that you'll answer from strongly agree to strongly disagree. And when you complete it, you will get a father friendly score for each of your 4 categories, an overall score, as well as a summary of how you answered each of those statements. So what do you do with that? Well, use that strategic plan template that we provide to you on that webpage. And you'll basically take a look at the statements and how you answered them. And, take a look at the statements that you scored lower on. Think about some easy wins. This should be something that is very doable and not overwhelming. So you want to pick, again, that low-hanging fruit to move over. You want to think about, what your organization's assets are and readiness for change, because that will affect which statements maybe you move over to your action plan. And think about assembling a team of coworkers to assist. Ideally, it would be great if they could have completed the assessment themselves, but maybe not all of them will have had the time to do that, but they still would be able to sit down and take a look at some of the things that came out of your assessment and that score. So, really, I encourage folks just to select 1 or 2 statements in at least one of the assessment categories to focus on and get some of those, quick wins under your belt. And for each of those statements, and you'll see on the strategic plan template, there's an opportunity for you to put who, what, when, and be very specific about what those incremental next steps are going to be to move the needle on your father friendliness. Now, the cool thing about this is that at some point down the future, if you want to retake the assessment, you will be able to compare the results. So you can look at, okay, well, we took the assessment, we did this, some of these actions on our strategic plan, and now we retake it and we can see, oh, okay, looks like we've had, a percentage of increase. So it will give you the opportunity, if you want, to actually get some quantitative data around the father friendliness in your organization. So when you go to the website, fatherhood.org, and you click on the Get Started and click on Taking the Father Friendly Checkup, you're actually going to get 2 options. Today, Antoine and I simply focused on this father friendly checkup. This takes folks 45 minutes to an hour to complete. It is a very in-depth assessment that will give you a lot of really good suggestions and spark a lot of great ideas for what you can move to your strategic plan. But we also have created what we call the Father Friendly Quick Check. So if you are short on time, maybe you at this point you can't dive right into the Father Friendly Checkup, or maybe your coworkers aren't ready for that yet. This quick check only takes about 10 minutes or less. And it's not like a strongly agree to strongly disagree. It's just a series of statements where you would answer yes or no. So that is another option for you. So remember, as we wrap up here, a goal without a plan is just a wish. So as I was finishing up on that uh, strategic plan template, again, just want to encourage you to utilize that and, convert the results from your father-friendly checkup to something that will help you be proactive and intentional in engaging fathers to actually move from inspiration to implementation, where you have some concrete next steps to focus on. And so that's it. Somehow we pretty much brought it home on time. But I just want to thank all of you for the great work that you're already doing to enrich fathers and families in your organization, in your communities as community leaders, and certainly for your time today, and hopefully a potential partnership with NFI at some point. We would encourage you to reach out to us. My contact information is up there, as well as Antoine's. You will also have this in the PowerPoint handout. So feel free to reach out to us if there's anything that we can do. And we certainly, wish you the best as you move forward in increasing your father friendliness, no matter where you are on that father friendly continuum. So with that, Justin, is there anything you wanted to wrap up with before we close out today?
Right. So after this webinar closes, there will be a post survey. So feel free to share your thoughts there. If you have any questions you'd like to know about the tool or about this webinar, please feel free to share. And we would give you a response if you do have any questions. So also, we will send out the slides and the recording of this webinar within 4 to 8 hours. It will also be posted on our YouTube page, and also, if you can, please also follow us on our social media pages, which I will post right here. So we will have updates on this tool and many more. So that is it for me. Have a nice day, everyone.
Bye, everyone.